The next commander deck that we have over here is Bedecked Brokers. So the commander for this deck is Perrie the Pulverizer. It says whenever Perrie enters the battlefield, put a shield counter on target creature, which is essentially totem armor. And then whenever this creature attacks, target creature you control gains trample and gets +X/+X until the end of turn, where X is the number of different kinds of counters among permanents you control. You know, the first time I saw this commander, the only thing I think of when you're attacking with one creature is Maze of Ith. Maze of Ith is a land that will just take a creature, one creature out of combat. So if for this deck to be successful, I'm going to tell people right now, like, if you have cards in your own collection to add into this, find lands that destroy lands. Find ways to give hexproof, because literally one land will just completely eliminate this commander right here. Just completely take him out of it. And I've seen so many games of commander where people are just like, I play Maze of Ith. And then they sit there and then they can just kind of do whatever they want. Or they just, nobody's going to attack them because they notice they're just going to untap or remove your attacking creature. So, especially in this deck, you need to play around a Maze of Ith. Maze of Ith is a real thing. And ways to remove... I know that there's an artifact that acts like Maze of Ith as well. So just, you have to think about Maze of Ith. Okay, so the first card we have here... First of all, this is $111.37. This one was $204.33. So clearly there's a wide gap here. We have an Aven Courier, which says whenever it attacks, choose a counter on a permanent you control. Put a counter of that kind on target permanent you control if it doesn't have a counter of that kind on it. Okay. Nice way to make copies of your counters. I think it's a decent card. For 2 mana, it's flyer. I mean, maybe I would have enjoyed this card better if it would cost 3 mana. Then it said just when it enters the battlefield, create a permanent. I think that would be pretty cool. We have a Devoted Druid. Well, I'm going to tell everyone right now, there's a card called, yo, chat. There's a card. What's good, Paul? What's good? Broker's deck is really short on color fixing, artifacts, and ramp. Not great for a 3-color deck. This one, I mean, yeah, you'd have to literally... I haven't checked out the ramp yet, but like I would imagine you'd have to figure out something. I mean, you're in Simic. I mean, Simic, or you have green there, so it's fairly cheap to fix the mana base, I would imagine. But what's good, Paul? But I was gonna say, there's a card that goes infinite with this card right here. Does anybody in chat know what that card is? And if you do, leave it here so when people on YouTube are watching this, they know what card it is. But there's a card that goes infinite with this. And I would imagine that this is 849, dude. Excuse me, just spit everywhere. This is 849, dude. This is a great card. Basically what happens is you put a -1/-1 counter on this creature. The other creature removes -1/-1 counters, and that allows you to untap Devoted Druid, which then allows you to... Sounds good, Paul. I'm glad you're doing well. But you can basically Swift reconfiguration. There are 100 cards that go infinite with Devoted Druid. Devoted Druid is an infinite combo. All right. When you guys know what card that is, I have the card in a binder somewhere. I could probably go grab it, but let's just get this done, and then at the end of the video, we may go over that. But just know there's infinite combo potential in this deck. We have Grateful Apparition. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, proliferate. Yeah, I mean, if they reprinted this with the same ability that this had, I think that would be good. But I don't... This only really works well if you're looking to put +1/+1 counters on creatures. 15 combos that go with it, but dude, there's a I'll think about it. Maybe it's in the deck. We have a Luminarch Aspirant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Okay. That's decent. Scavenging Ooze, I mean, you're playing green. Why not? Oh, that is true. If you guys can type in the chat the names of these cards, I think YouTube would appreciate it. Because I don't know if you guys see your text popping up all big. But we have Scavenging Ooze, just a classic card. Oh, they reprinted the Hydra. This card was expensive, dude. Yeah, this is a good card. It says, you can remove a counter from it, destroy target artifact or enchantment. A Skyship Plunderer. I've never seen this card in my life. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player for each kind of counter on target permanent. So this is just proliferate. Thummingbird, speaking of proliferate. Okay. Wall of Roots. Put a -1 counter, Wall of Roots. Okay. You can tap it. You essentially get a mana. Okay. Whenever another permanent you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, investigate. Okay. I mean, that's good card draw, I would imagine. I mean, maybe in mono white, this is a good card. But I think we're already playing blue here. So I don't know if this really matters. But it's still a cool card. What is this? At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a feather counter on target creature. If you do, that creature is a 3/1 and has flying as long as it has a feather counter on it. Okay. I mean, word. I never heard of feather counters before. The Crystalline Giant. Oh, this just gains counters, like every counter. Wait a minute. And then Perrie says it gets +X+X, where X is the number of different kinds of counters. Ooh, the Giant is a bomb inside this deck. That's pretty cool. Because that gets you all the counters, essentially. Yeah, I would protect this card with the counter spell or something. And then we have an Evolution Stage, more proliferating. Actually, I built my sister this commander deck right here, actually. Genera, Asura of War. This is my sister's commander. We have Park Heights Maverick. Dethrone, which I think gives counters to creature. Dethrone in green. I would imagine we're going to see a lot of Dethrone inside this set. So it can't be blocked. More dealing damage and proliferating. I don't know if... Chat, what do you guys think about the whole... Like, they're putting a lot of these cards that say you deal damage and then you proliferate. You make... What do you guys think about that? Because everything seems to be like this. This makes or buffs counters when it deals damage. Like, that buffs counters and deals damage. That buffs counters and deals damage. There's this one as well. I don't know if, I mean, you want to be attacking, but I guess if we think about it, you know, if we start proliferating shield counters, I guess my question is like, okay, if a creature that has a shield, what if a creature has 2 shield counters on it and the creature's destroyed? Do both shield counters go away or does only one? That's the question of the moment. Next card we have here is Rishkar Pima Renegade. Enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Okay. And then each creature you control with a counter on it. Ooh. That's a pretty good card in this deck. Yo, these guys really know what they're doing when they make these commander decks. Vorel, okay. For each counter on target artifact or creature you control, put another one of those. I thought this said double permanents. I thought this doubled counters. Are there multiple versions of this card? I'm pretty sure I've seen a version of this card and it said for each counter, double those counters. But I may be wrong, but I think I'm not. Next card we have here is a Wingspan Mentor. Okay, flying counters. Whoa, what is this? Enters the battlefield with your choice of a +1 first strike or vigilance counter. Whenever a non-token creature you control enters the battlefield, if it has counters on it, put the same number of counters on that creature. Yo, that's a fun commander. That's a fun commander. Okay. Fathom Mage. Whenever a creature... Oh, this just draws you cards whenever a counter is put on the Fathom Mage. This actually works incredibly well with all the proliferate inside this deck. I'm a big fan of the Fathom Mage. Forgotten Ancient, I mean... this card's so good. Whenever a player casts a spell, you may put a counter on Forgotten Ancient, and then you can just move those counters around as you please. We have Kroos, the Defense Contractor. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a shield counter target creature an opponent controls. Whenever you put one or more counters on a creature you don't control, tap that creature and goad it. It gains trample until you... Okay. That's not bad. That's not bad. We have a Slippery... Oh, okay. So they put the hexproof card inside here. They reprinted this. This is a great card. Guys, I'm going to tell you all right now, like, because this card got reprinted, this Bogbonder, like, if you want to invest in a card, if this card drops to maybe like $1 or $2, I would highly suggest spending $5 on 5 copies of this card. If it goes to $1 or $1.50, I would buy 3 or 4 copies. This card is fantastic. We have a Wicker Bow Elder. This is... It's a thing. I mean, you pay 1 green mana to remove a counter from it. And with all the proliferate inside this deck, I could see this kind of being a... I could see people just wiping the board, essentially, of enchantments and artifacts with this card, actually. Okay. Avenging Huntbonder, put a double strike counter on target attacking creature. It's alright. Roalesque, okay. Enters the battlefield, put 2 counters on a target creature you control, and then this has proliferate twice when it dies. You don't want to put shield counters on that guy. I'm curious how they're going to allow players to keep track of the different counters. Maybe one of those keyword punch-outs like an Ikoria. You would have to hope, man. You would have to hope. And there's a lot of counters too. I would just like write it down or something. Because it seems like they got a lot going on inside this deck. It's a good point. When Shield Broker enters the battlefield, put a shield counter on target non-commander creature you don't control. You gain... Oh! Oh, this is a fantastic card, guys. This is my favorite card in the entire deck. Guys, this is my favorite card in the entire deck. I haven't even seen the rest of the deck yet. This card is so mean. I need that card. I would play that in Prime Speaker Vanifar. We have Skyboon Evangelist. Enters the battlefield. Support 6. Support 6. I'm pretty sure support 6 means you put 6... Do you put 1+1/+1 counter on 6 creatures or 6 counters on 1 creature? Whenever a creature with a counter on it attacks one of your opponents... Whenever a creature with a counter attacks one of your opponents, that creature gains flying until the end of turn. Okay. I mean, there's ways to give flying to creatures without forcing them to have counters. A Bribe Taker. Trample. 6 mana, 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, for each counter amount on permanents you control, you may put your choice of a +1/+1 counter or a counter of that kind on Bribe Taker. Give this thing haste. That's a good card, man. And Johnny Unyielding. Okay, I mean, this is alright, Planeswalker. I would immediately take that card out of the deck, though. Declaration in Stone. Bant Charm, Broker's Charm. This is a great charm. Destroy target enchantment, draw 2 cards. Just deal straight damage to your opponent. Especially after you get the buff from Perrie. That combos pretty well with that charm right there. This card can end a game. This card's gonna end games. Or at least knock people out of the game. We have Contractual Safeguard. If you cast a spell during your main phase, put a shield counter on a creature you control. Choose a kind of counter on a creature you control. Put a counter of that kind on each other creature you control. Wow. That's a great card. Okay, so this is either gonna give your entire, wow, what a great card. That could give your entire team trample, that could give your entire team hexproof, that could give your entire team indestructible, that could give your entire team everything. That is a Magic the Gathering card, people. That's a great card right there. 3 mana, mono white. That's a bomb right there. Exotic Pets. What is this? Create 2 1/1 blue fish creature tokens. This creature can't be blocked. Then, wait, what? Then for each counter among creatures you control, put a counter of that kind on either of those tokens. Okay. Okay. I'd play that in Temet Vizier of something. I forget what it's called. I'd play that in Temet. Generous Gift. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. Storm of Forms. When you cast a spell, copy it for each. Oh, really? Okay. When you cast it, copy it for each kind of counter among permanents you control. You may choose new targets for the copies. Okay. So basically, instant speed, 4 mana among. Oh, return target non-land permanent. Oh, I was gonna say, I thought it said target permanent. I was like, oh, this card is just. That would be mean. We have Tezzeret's Gambit, okay. Broker's Confluence. All the confluences are getting printed into each of these commander decks. Target creature phases out. That's pretty cool. You may choose the same mode more than once. Okay. Counter target activated or triggered ability. Okay. Proliferate. More of that. Damning Verdict. Destroy all creatures with no counters on them. Oh, dude. Dude, that's a GG. For 5 mana, that card right there is going to win. This is the reason why this deck is going to win. I'm telling you, I know that this commander deck up here, this Grixis one, definitely seems to be incredibly strong with the way that it works. But just in a pre-constructed environment, like when people are playing games, I could totally see this card ending. This card's going to end games. That's a GG card right there. That's just a one-sided board wipe. And with the way that this deck deals damage to your commander, I mean, come on. That's a great card. Urban Evolution. Planar Outburst. Okay. Rich Card's Expertise. Nice. Decent card draw. I mean, even though we're in blue. So. Overflowing Chalice. Soul Ring. Arcane Signet. Felwar Stone. There's a lot of artifacts. You know, I think that they would just put like instant or sorcery spells to ramp instead of having so many artifacts. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a charge counter on Gavel of the Righteous. Each creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on Gavel of the Righteous. As long as Gavel has 4 or more counters on it, equip creature has double strike. Equip, pay 3, or remove a counter. Yo, hold up. Is that equip? Is this equip instant speed, or is it not instant speed? That's the question. We have Power Conduit. Remove a counter from a permanent you control. Oh, okay. I think this card goes... I don't think it goes infinite, but there's a card like a Dark Steel Reactor or something that just wins the game. Whenever... Ooh, dude, you should probably play a Dark Steel Reactor inside this deck. That could be a cool, like, little, like, a... what would you call that? Like a secondary win condition. Because of all the proliferate inside the deck. Dude, I would just take this deck and just make a Traxa the commander. And then just... Dude, I might end up doing that. Just taking this deck, taking my Atraxa, making that the commander of this deck, honestly. I'm gonna tell you, that's 100% what I'm doing. I'm taking my Atraxa deck and just buying this and making Atraxa the commander of this, and then I can just add black. We have Agent's Toolkit. Enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it, a flying counter, and a death touch counter. And a shield counter. Is this a creature or like... Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you may move a counter from Agent's Toolkit onto that creature. Okay. I mean, that's a pretty decent card. Commander Sphere, Midnight Clock, Oblivion Stone. Ooh. Dude, Oblivion Stone? Look at this. This is what I'm thinking. Put a fate counter on target permanent. Because this says you sacrifice Oblivion Stone, you need Sun Titan inside this deck. This says destroy each non-land permanent without a fate counter on it, then remove all fate counters from all permanents. Oh, it says to remove all fate counters. Because you could combo this with that. You could just cast this, give everything fate counters, tap that. Dude, this deck has some combos that are literally just gonna wipe everybody else's board and keep your board safe. And that's the reason why I think this deck is gonna win a lot of games. Oblivion Stone and that card, really good. Oracle's Vault. Immediately take this card out of the deck. I have no idea why this card's inside the deck. Oh, I'll put a brick counter. Because it has brick counters? Oh, I don't know. Okay, that's a card. Whenever you draw a card, you may put a hoofprint counter on hoofprints of the stag. I am a big fan of this card. I think that this card right here is to make a 4/4 with flying. I think is pretty good. I don't think you're drawing enough cards to make it relevant, but you are proliferating a lot, so I guess it's just a different way of getting up there. Together Forever, Family's Favor. Whenever you attack, put a shield counter on target attacking creature until the end of turn. It gains... Whenever this creature deals combat damage to player, remove a shield counter from it. If you do, draw a card. Okay. That's pretty cool for 3 mana. I mean, just a nice way to draw cards and to protect your creatures. Primal Empathy. Oh, fantastic card. Beginning of your upkeep, draw a card. Okay. Whenever a permanent you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on target creature. Ooh. At instant speed, you can pay 5 mana, move any number of counters from target permanent you control to another target permanent you control. Dude. Dude, the enchantment right here, the Resourceful Defense, and then the enchantment right here where it says, where is it? Extravagant Replication. Bombs. I'm still thinking about that extravagant. I still think this card's amazing. But, dude, that's a bomb card right there. That's a fantastic card. Yeah, so this is my new Atraxa deck, everybody. I hope you like my new Atraxa deck. If I would give this deck a rating out of 10, you know, I think that who's the person that's gonna buy this deck? I think that anyone, you know, that plays the game, that has a lot of experience, can play this deck and can play it well. I would definitely gear this deck more towards the people who are new to the game. Although there are going to be a lot of counters, and keeping track of all the counters and things that are going on may seem... But I'm also, like, in my mind imagining a new player sitting down playing with the deck, and I could just see them just, like, proliferating and it just being satisfying, you know, like, oh, I get another counter. All of these get counters, and then it just, I could just imagine someone having fun. This deck definitely seems fun. Everybody is aware that if you just play Maze of Ith, like just tap Maze of Ith, it just completely eliminates Perrie, essentially. And so I suppose you just keep that in mind. Play around. You have to play around a way to remove lands inside this deck, because if you don't, if somebody plays a Maze of Ith, you lose. And that's that. So I would give this deck a solid 7 out of 10. I think it's a good deck. I think that it definitely has potential to be strong.